This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Danilo is free. He goes to Gibbs wide. Edge of the box. Foley. Great goal! What a hit from Arena! It's wide! They've only gone and done it again! Forest back in the lead from Morgan Gibbs White! Oh, what he scores! And the City ground goes ballistic!
Hello and welcome to Red Side of the Trent. Here to preview Forest penultimate away game of the year as Forest head to West London and the G-Tech, which is a bit of a fortress this season in Brentford and propping them up in 11th place respectively. Joining me are Christian Brown and Reese Lane. Chaps, we've had a lovely week looking at ourselves fourth in the league. Reese, you went off to do some scouting after the Aston Villa game we all saw. Posting away at Lazio. I mean, we should beat them. They losing 6-0 to Inter.
Yeah, I know. It was, for those who don't follow Serie A, I mean, that was a bit of a title grudge match and Inter absolutely thrashed them. I think they only had 7 shots on target and scored 6 goals. So efficiency, I think, is the word to describe that performance.
Definitely. Well, otherwise, though, Reese.
Yeah, good, mate. Just looking forward to breaking up now to Christmas and watching plenty of football and plenty of darts amongst other things. So yeah,
definitely. Christian, you out?
Oh, yeah, all good here, mate. Yeah, all good.
Good. How have you all been finding ourselves in the upper echelons of the league? Christian, I'll start with yourself. I mean, we obviously talked about the Villa game in great depth. Reese didn't have much of a chance to say so. We'll get him to say his piece, but it's been quite nice. Loads of people are complimenting us, which is weird.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it? And we're normally used to sort of it being the way around, aren't we? And sort of like looking to sort of shut people up and prove people wrong. But yeah, it's been quite nice. Obviously, living in the south, a few Arsenal fans are sort of querying why we're only 2 points behind them and how that's been possible. But I think that's more of a reflection on them being Tony Pulis set piece FC rather than actually playing football. But it has been quite nice. It's I think I'm just determined to make the most of it while it lasts. I think that's all we can do, really, because obviously, even if we don't, finish the top 4, which is very unlikely to happen, it's still just great to be in this position going into Christmas. Like, it's nuts to think that if we beat Brentford, we'll spend Christmas Day in the top 4 of the league. So I don't think anyone had that in a bingo card start of the season.
Yeah, and how many points we've accumulated in this space of the season already as well. Reese, obviously, we know you didn't get to come on the review because you was going to Italy for a wedding for a friend of the pod, Alessandro, who's Forester is the English team. I'd like to think he's been to a few games, but yeah. What did you make of the game and cracking result? I mean, it's very rare Forest come back from 1-0 down, heading into the last 10 minutes of a fixture and turning it around like that, isn't it?
Very much a chess match first half. I think Pep and Arteta would have probably tipped the caps towards it, wouldn't they? I think it was Christian who made the analogy. I listened to the pod on the flight home, and it was like basically 2 boxers who are not too sure on how one's going to be, so they're just kind of jostling really first few rounds and working each other out. But I mean, at half time, very similar to Christian. I thought it was either just going to be a 0-0 or a moment of magic / an error was just going to tip it in whoever's direction. The moment of magic come from Martinez's save. I mean, I've no idea how he reacted to keep that out. I mean, I bet Dominguez is fuming because he's had 2 basically point blank efforts that have been kept out by incredible saves. So he's probably due a goal soon, Dominguez, which would be nice for him. He obviously scored against Brentford last season. And then, McGinn's cross really, I thought, was just a hopeful ball. And to be fair to Duran, he's reacted really quick, anti-inflict it. In the ground, it looked like it was straight at Sells, but on the highlights, I mean, he's got no chance for that. Duran's just literally reacted to it really quickly, anti-inflicted in. Obviously, the form he's in. And then obviously with the disallowed goal, I mean, Jesus, I mean, absolute millimetres into it. And I was gutted for Elanga then as well, because I kind of think he needed that kick start. And you're thinking, oh, he's not got that rub of the green. We're going to lose this game 1-0, probably similar to the Fulham game. And then all of a sudden, it just springs into life, doesn't it? And Martinez, really an error, really. I mean, Milenkovic does all he can, hits the target, but I think he just tries to catch it, doesn't he? He fumbles it in. And then, I mean, in injury time, God, before I go, I think we each gave the ball to one another several times, didn't we? But obviously Anderson's put it in, and then Langer's made a superb run, connected with it brilliantly. And yeah, what a finish. And honestly, I generally think one of my favourite home games probably ever. Just to come back in that fashion, 3 minutes to go against the side. We're not talking like, teams from the past like a Rotherham or a Blackpool. This is Aston Villa, who are, in the Champions League this season, doing really well in the Champions League. They beat bloody Bayern Munich this season, for example. So to do that, yeah, definitely up there. Just such a brilliant win for us.
Did you ever think there was a small part where VAR were going to intervene with that second goal? Because I've heard so many like Villa podcasts or like clips on TikTok and stuff, and they're all like, it's a foul every day of the week, and if it's the opposite way around, Forest fans are moaning just as much as we are. But
Yeah,
I really don't think I would be or not. I don't know. It's a grey area for me.
There's an element of truth to that. We are all biased at times, but my kind of adage is that, when we get a stinking decision against us, all the media, all the pundits, and all the opposition fans turn around to you and say, well, it evens itself out over the season, doesn't it? So they're the ones that even themselves out. I mean, the minutest of margins for the offside goal. So we've got one in our favour this week. We've had, as we know, last season we had plenty against us. So, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to do down Matty Cash because he was superb for us in that last season, but he's never really been the strongest of players, has he? So Anderson probably used his, tenacious to kind of grapple it off him. And, yeah, the rest, as I say, is history.
Definitely. I mean, great result puts us into fourth, as I said, for the week. And if we win on Saturday, we're in there just before Christmas. That's absolutely hilarious. It's so funny to see us in fourth, Bournemouth in sixth, and Fulham in eighth. The 21-22 graduation teams of the championship. It's like if we'd started a network game on Football Manager, and each of us have taken in charge, and that's why the league looks a bit like lopsided in that sense. So quite funny to see all three of them clubs up there. Brentford on Saturday, chaps. They are as I said at the start of the show, they've got the best home record this season. They've got 22 points from 8 games, and they scraped 1 point away from home, and that was to Everton. And at home, they've been in like literally craziest games you'd probably ever see. It's like prime Barclays every week at the G-Tech, it seems. I mean, like I think they've had a 4-3, a 5-3, a 4-1. Over 2.5 goals is pretty much odds on. And I'll probably say that for Saturday, to be honest, potentially. But Christian, how do you see Brentford? Is this a game that we can go and really trouble them? Because if I read you out the teams that they have beaten at home, other than Newcastle, you'd probably say they should be beating every single one of these teams. And so I'll just read them out quickly. So they beat Newcastle 4-2. They beat Leicester 4-1, Bournemouth 3-2, Ipswich 4-3, Wolves 5-3, and Southampton 3-1, and Palace 2-1. Sorry, should I say at the start of the season? So, do you go there with any fear or not really?
Not really. Funny enough, I actually have that exact list in front of me right here. Probably because I sent it into our group chat. But yeah, I find it very strange that they've played one team in the top half this season at home and won, and that's Bournemouth, who you'd expect before a ball was kicked to probably be in a similar position to Brentford anyway. So it is quite interesting in that front. And obviously, the win against Newcastle was obviously a very good win. We know firsthand how good Newcastle can be, although they do seem rather inconsistent this season. It's sort of like when Newcastle are hot, they're very, very hot, and when they're not, they tend to lose, which is a bit weird. But Yeah, I mean, it's interesting the amount of goals they've been conceding. I mean, conceding obviously 6 goals to Wolves and Ipswich is quite something. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think we should go over any fear at all. No, of course not. Obviously, they have a very good home record. They generally have had a good home record since they've been promoted. But yeah, I don't see why we can't go there and cause them problems. I don't think we should go there obviously like fearing anyone. We've beaten this other places this season. If you look at our away record, for example, we've played pretty much near enough the top half away. Obviously, we've been away at Liverpool, we won. We went away at Chelsea. Obviously, we drew. Obviously, Arsenal, Man City, we lost there, unfortunately. But otherwise, went away at Brighton and drew as well. So that's half the top 10, that we've already played away. We've only lost 2 of those games, which is quite impressive. So no, I don't think we should go over any fear or anything like that. We should be pretty confident. The manner in which we won on Saturday will hopefully give us some momentum as well going into the match. So yeah, I'm pretty hopeful that Forest can turn up and do a job if possible.
Yeah, Reece, you mentioned actually in our chat that Brentford have changed formations and personnel quite a lot. How do you kind of expect them to go Saturday? Because we're going to be a team they expect to beat, and we're probably a team we expect to beat or at least get a point away at Brentford, I'd say. So it's going to be an interesting how Thomas Frank lines up actually in this one.
Yeah, well, they played last night, didn't they? And I noticed that Ethan Pinnock, who's pretty much a stalwart for him, he went off injured. And apparently, someone I see mentioned on Twitter was his hamstring. So, if it is a hamstring issue, then you wouldn't imagine he'd be in the team on Saturday for one. So, they'd probably have to make a change at the back. Then I've looked at the kind of teams they've played. Sometimes they play a 3 at the back, sometimes they play a 4. So, it's set up really for a very intriguing game because obviously they've had to travel as well last night. And thankfully it's right up to Newcastle. I seen that they did rest in Bremer, but he did come on, didn't he? But Visser, who's you probably say is their other real talisman. I think he played the full 90. So, all our games with Brentford are pretty exciting. I mean, what we had since we come up 2-2 at ours, then a 2-1 loss, a 1-1, and a 3-2, haven't we? So both teams have scored every game. I'd be very surprised if both teams didn't score again on Saturday, especially with the amount of goals what Brentford are conceding. I mean, despite the fact they're 11th and have this incredible home record, they've got the 4th worst defence in the league, I had a look. So that's where we've got to try and hurt them. It's set up for an intriguing game. I just kind of hope we don't implode as we've done in the last 2 seasons there, where we started so well last season and completely imploded, the free kick. And then obviously the season before, I think it was 1-0 up, weren't we, with probably 10 minutes to go. And then we conceded 2 late goals when...
Yeah.
I mean...
There's no Ivan Toney this season.
yeah, that's one good thing. But look, if we can go there and get a result of any shape or form, minimum a point, that'd be, I think, a good return for us to go there personally. As long as we can avoid defeat on the face of that, I think that would be a positive result for us.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've not beat them in the last 6 fixtures. It seems like it goes a bit to and fro between us, where they have a period where we can't beat them, and they have a period where they can't beat us. I mean, I think the last time we beat them was 1-0, and I think Joe Lolly, that's why you got a kit in the background.
I mean, Sabri had his number, didn't he, like that season? We beat him 1-0 twice. I remember in the home game, was it? Yeah, Sam Bassau absolutely cleaved one of their players out as well, didn't he? I think it might have been Buemo or Benrahma, I can't remember now. But just to touch on as well, I think this was Elliot who put this up earlier on Twitter. Our bench from last season had basically 3 academy players on it. This is at Brentford. McKenna, Vlachodimos, Toffolo, Worrell, Nico Williams, who were all defenders. And then the only attacking option was Aguilera. That was our bench last season at Brentford.
I mean, I remember we didn't have Morgan Gibbs-White for that game, didn't we? So it was like...
the AFCON players.
We was basically saying, what the heck are we going to do? How are we going to play it now? And now that fear is completely gone with how we're playing this season, and obviously the emergence of Elliot Anderson. Christian, I'm going to ask you about Visser and Mbeumo, because between them they've scored 19 goals this season, which is pretty impressive to say. They lost Ivan Toney, and everyone kind of put them including myself, put them there probably towards the bottom of the league this season. But as much as people don't like Thomas Frank, I know Forest fans don't like Brentford a lot because of their whole XG thing, but he's doing a really good job and has always kind of found a way for Brentford to get results. And those two players have been really good this season. I mean, how do we go about stopping them two?
Yeah, they've both been very good. Obviously, we were linked with Vista, weren't we, in the summer? Whether that was paper talk or anything more substantial, we did seem as if we had a few bits not back for him. Yeah, I mean, I actually thought it was the other way around. I never thought Tony was that great, to be honest. I still don't really. I mean, like, it seems to be like, he's opened up, him leaving has opened up a lot more sort of flexibility for that sort of attacking line. And Visser and Wemmer have thrived from that. I thought they were perfectly fine in his absence. He came back, stunk the place out, went 8 games without a goal, whatever it was, then went off to Saudi. Some career ambition that is, eh? But that's enough about Ivan Toney. Yeah, I mean, obviously, in regards to Frank, we all know he's incredibly arrogant. I think that goes without saying. We all remember the championship days where he'd lose or draw a game and just come out and just be completely disparaging of the opposition that he faced. That seems to have stopped now. But yeah, he's a very flexible manager when it comes to his tactics. Obviously, we touched on one earlier, but he does seem to get the best out of his squad, whether it's more defence loaded or attack loaded. And I can see why people thought that he'd be a good fit at United when that job was made available, and indeed in the summer, to be fair, when United were openly looking for another manager to replace Ten Hag, which is very, very sad. Wish he was still there now. But yeah, going back to Brentford, I mean, it is going to be tough to stop them, but I mean, equally they're coming up against a very mean backline that Forest have got. We shouldn't be worried about these players. I mean, I know that don't want that to sound arrogant, because every team in the Premier League has good players that can hurt you, but equally, we're not here by fluke. We're not here by luck or anything like that. We fully earned our right to be fourth in the league, and the bedrock of that has been a very good back line. So if anything, we should be asking, would Wiston and Buemo get enough change out of our back line, given how well we've defended, rather than how we're going to stop them? So, yeah, obviously we've got to be aware they have very good players. Every team in the Premier League does. But no, I fully back our defence to find a way to stop them.
Yeah, I mean, Reece, what kind of battles do you see on Saturday where you're going to think we need to win that battle, and if we do, we probably get on top of Brentford, because they're pretty good at set pieces and we're good at set pieces, but I'm just wondering where there might be a chink in their armour as such.
Well, obviously defensively, it goes to shit loads and loads of goals, don't they? As I said in the last comment, you've obviously got to stop their better players, aren't you? Buemo's, so whoever. I think Nico Williams played well again on Saturday, just gone, so he'll probably keep his position. So it'll be a tough test for Nico, but he's shown in the last couple of games that he's up for these type of challenges, which is quite ironic because he's both at left back, aren't he? So that'll be an interesting battle. Obviously, keeping Visser quiet is going to be, Milenkovic and Murillo's job. Kevin Shard is also in a bit of a purple patch. I'm just looking for in his last 5, also with 1 assist. So it's just, if we can keep their attacking players quiet, which is, easier said than done, I think we can clearly hurt them at the other end because of the amount of goals they concede. It's a bit like kind of rock and roll football, isn't it? Thomas Frank plays. It's like Kevin Keegan from the 90s of, well, if you score 3, we'll score 4. We don't care how many you concede. We're just going to outscore you. So yeah, I think, like I said in my last comment, I think it's a really intriguing game, and I'm actually really looking forward to it. I think it will be a very entertaining game, and I actually fancy there'll be a few goals. Hopefully, we can just, come out on top.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to get into lineups, guys. I'm going to start with yourself, Christian, because I think yours has got probably the most common 11 that I think would see darted about online of people choosing. So I'll put it up on the screen for everyone to see, and then for the audio listeners, I'll read it out. It's a set up in a 4-2-3-1. It's Matt Sells in goal, the same back 5 as Saturday, which was Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo, and Nico Williams. Nico Dominguez coming into centre midfield with Elliot Anderson. Anthony Elanga getting the right midfield or right wing spot back. Morgan Gibbs-White, Callum Hudson-Odoi behind Chris Wood. I'm I'm not sure if you're thinking Yates in there, Dominguez in there for Yates because of injury or because you feel that Ryan Yates is maybe not needed for this game necessarily. So I just wanted your thoughts first of all, Christian. You're on mute.
It is more the injury side of things than anything else. Obviously, I don't know what he did. He just seemed to go down quite a bit on Saturday, didn't he?
Colin Frey said he twisted his ankle, I think it was.
So obviously, let's see how that goes from that front. But I also think that without wanting to be too disparaging to Yates, and I know obviously the game circumstances were very different at that point from when he started the match, for example. But it is worth noting that we did score 2 goals with him off the field. So, obviously there is maybe something there to be looked at, especially given how Brentford defends. Do we really need to be as defensive? I don't know. But primarily it came down to just fitness for me, just because I don't think he'll be fully fit. If he is, then obviously that's a different story. But I went into that assuming that he would be ruled out for the game. So with that in mind, I thought Dominguez did a very selfless task on Saturday. Try helping to shut down that left-hand side of Luca Dean, and did a very good job of that as well. Very underrated job once again. I just wish that he's almost like a victim of his own versatility in a sense, Dominguez, because obviously he can play on the wing and nullify a threat there. Obviously he's the best presser in the sides. There was that one little bit again in the Villa game, for example, where we sort of caught them, it was in front of us actually, Reece, in Bridgeford, and I think it was like a 3-pronged attack, and Dominguez was right on that, and then obviously we won a throw in from that, whatever it was. Again, that came from Dominguez's pressing and intuition. So obviously you think to play him up the field, but then he hasn't got the attacking prowess to sort of play there. But it does seem to me his home is central midfield as one of those two in a 4-2-3-1, and I would like to see him get a go there. The difficulty of that is that we're playing so well, it's sort of who do you drop? But I think Dominguez Anderson midfields would be quite exciting. Has a good sort of blend of attacking prowess, tenacity, determination, grit, everything you need really from a midfield too. So I would quite like to see that in action if possible. But also Elanga, you can't drop Elanga after he's obviously been out of had a bit of a confidence issue over the last month or so. Once he scores like that, and he should have an assist as well, because that offside was a joke. I've seen it back a few times since we did that pod. It's an absolute joke. That's probably one of the tightest VAR calls you'll ever see before semi-automated offsides come in. And again, anyway, we'll be stuck on that for ages till we talk about that, because that's really laughable. But yeah, obviously Elanga came on full of confidence, should have had 2 goal contributions in that game, and he'll want to build on that big time. So he'll be chomping at the bit to get at Brentford's left back, whoever it may be. So I think you have to start Elanga really. And yeah, other than that, it's pretty much what we've tried and tested all season to great success. So that was my thought processes for it.
I mean, Nico Dominguez is like our Ji-sung Park, it seems. He just plays anywhere and just runs and runs and runs and then runs some more. Any questions from you, Reece, or is it do you think it's pretty standard? Would you make any changes or arguments for anyone else coming in? Obviously, Alex Moreno is back available. Morato came on, and we don't know what the fitness of Murillo is going to be like, because we've not had any updates. Or I've not watched Nuno's press conference either, so I actually don't know.
Yeah, my mate who's a United fan used to call him Free Lung Park, Ji-sung Park, because of his brothers. So yeah. No, I mean, if Milenkovic and Murillo are fit, as much as Morato's done one in his cameos, they're the 2 centre-back pair, and you won't break that pairing up, would you? Nico, I think, last 2 games has earned his shirt. I think it's been kind of his Forest career, and he's had a few games in, a few games out, and I've always said with Nico, he needs that consistent run. I'd be interested to see what's his most starts in a row for Forest, because it wouldn't surprise me if it's probably half a dozen. So hopefully he can keep that shirt and playing well, because he's our asset at the end of the day, whereas Moreno at the minute is only on loan. Obviously, if that was the formation we was going to play, I think the 2 wingers are fair enough. I thought Hudson-Odoi played well on Saturday, despite not obviously contributing in terms of a goal or an assist. Obviously, Elanga come on and did well. And then the only real argument is Yates or Dominguez, isn't it? And we can probably argue on that one until the cars come home, so I'm not getting involved in that. But if we go with that formation, I don't think Christian will be far off the mark there. at all.
Yeah, well, I'm going to put yours up, and I was very interested when you put this into our group chat because, well, yeah, it was very different. I've put it as a 3-4-2-1, just to make it. I think that's just what you was kind of going for in a
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
So just to read it out for the audio listeners, it's Sells in goal, Milenkovic, Murillo, Morata at the back, Olorino, Nico Williams as wing backs, Nico Dominguez and Ryan Yates in central midfield with Morgan Gibbs-White and Anderson behind Chris Wood in a kind of a box formation. I'd probably call it with Nico and Olorino providing width. What's your thinking behind this, Reese?
It's a tough one because, like I said, you kind of don't know what Brentford are going to set up with. So I thought I'd be a little bit exuberant and kind of go with this one because I think it would kind of, especially away from home, play a little better. Because you obviously got the three centre backs, which are going to give you the cover on the wings if Iron and Williams are getting forward. Because if obviously Mbeumo's in full flight, it's going to probably limit Nico Williams getting forward, for example. Is Lewis Potter playing on the other wing or
He has been. He's been playing left wing back or left wing.
Right, yeah. Obviously, and then it obviously still gives you that security in the midfield with Dominguez and Yates in there. And we've kind of a little bit stuck, not stuck, but you know what I mean, with Gibbs-White and Anderson. I've seen people saying now, like, would you swap them over? Because Gibbs-White actually went into the 8, didn't he, against Villa and did really well, which he does every time. So maybe them two is like 2 number 10s, obviously behind Wood, giving him support, and you'd also have that solidarity behind him with obviously 3 at the back and Yates and Dominguez in there. I just thought I'd maybe do a little tester. I mean, I'd be absolutely amazed if that was the team. But yeah, I don't. Why not? Just obviously a bit different to Christians. There's no point in as having the exact same team as they.
Definitely. I mean, I think Nuno is capable of playing something like this. And I think he tried something like this in pre-season just to see what it would be like. So it's an intriguing one. I think when we do play that 4-2-3-1, there should be more flexibility between Morgan and Anderson to go and stay. Do you know what I mean? And they can interchange in that role. I think. Christian, any questions from you for Reese?
No, I think it's pretty structurally sound, isn't it? Obviously, it's assuming Yates is fit, of course. But I can kind of see it. I think obviously the lack of width, I guess, would be my only concern. But obviously you've got Ina and Williams providing that as well. So it'll be interesting. Obviously it's quite nice that we've got into a situation now where Nuno's actually got a lot of options, and whatever he does pick, I don't really think people will sort of complain because of how well we're playing and how well even the players who aren't starting are performing. So obviously this is notoriously a pretty tough time this season in terms of thick turnaround, if you like. So it'll be interesting how he does utilise his squad. I think obviously because it's a week today, obviously recording on Thursday, so our next game will be Spurs, won't it? And then we got Everton on the Sunday. So we've got 3 games in 8 days, basically. So it'd be quite interesting to see how he does utilise his squad. So I imagine there will be a few formation/selection changes on the way.
It's quite funny. It doesn't actually seem like it's that congested for a change. I know it does get congested like a bit later on, but it seems like we're so much more. We can cope with it a lot more, and I think that's because of no AFCON as well.
It's just years ago they used to have a New Year's Day fixture in there, didn't they? So you kind of play Boxing Day, you'd play in between. I think the season we went up, we played Borough away Boxing Day, didn't we? Then Huddersfield at home, and then I think we was meant to play Barnsley on New Year's Day maybe, but it got postponed due to COVID. I might be wrong there, but they used to kind of have 3 games rather than 2. So
I'm going to just chuck up my alternative 11, which was a 4-2-3-1. So I went with Sells, Ina, Milenkovic, Murillo, Alex Moreno back in. I put James Ward-Prowse alongside Elliot Anderson, Dominguez on the right, Gibbs-White, Hudson-Odoi and Wood. My thinking was basically we try and contain Brentford and frustrate them for so long and hit them on counter, get free kicks in, and we've got a plethora of players that can take set pieces there. I'm just wondering I think the harshness would be on Nico Williams left back because he has played really well. I think you both have said he deserves to keep his spot. It's just that Alex Moreno provides that nice balance overlapping as a left winger rather than Nico having to like maybe cut back. But yeah, it's a tough one for him. I just think Ward-Prowse is probably in danger of getting recalled at this moment in time. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Well, I mean, for me, I think you couldn't put Ward-Prowse in there at Brentford away. For me, he's not played, has he, now for quite a while. I mean, when did he last appear for us? I just think that'd be a bit of a not. I know he's an experienced Premier League player, but it wouldn't make sense to me to have Dominguez right wing, Ward-Prowse in centre mid. I'd rather have Dominguez centre mid and then Elanga or Jota on the wing, because obviously if you're looking to get out on the counter, you want your fastest players there to obviously spring you out. So, me personally, that would be a non-starter. I get the Moreno. I agree with you there, Adam, because I'd say he's more of a wing back than Nico. So obviously, if I was to do my formation, I could obviously stick Moreno in there, but I kept Nico in because, like I said, he's earned that shirt in the minute, and I want to see him get consistent game time, because it's always dribs and drabs with Nico. And like we've said on pods previously, we're kind of coming to a stage where we need to decide, if he's kind of the future for us. So he needs to play for me. But yeah, I'm not sure. Christian,
I personally think Nuno will go with what Christian's put, to be honest, because I just don't think he'll fear Brentford enough to not play two out and out wingers and go at them, especially with how Callum Hudson-Odoi played on Saturday, where he was just getting the ball and whipping it in. It was quite nice to see, actually, for a change. Christian, I'm going to ask you for. Should we do score predictions now, or should we save it to the end of the show, guys?
Go for it now, mate. Why it's on your mind?
Go on then, Christian. What's your score prediction for Saturday's game?
I think I went for a Desmond on our chat, didn't we? On the original pods. I think I'll probably stick with that. Yeah, I think we'll leave with something. I wouldn't put it past Forest to get a more positive result than that, but I can just see Brentford sort of like kamikaze gung-ho style, sort of actually leading to something. It should be a really good game, like Reece was saying earlier. It could like be one of those that ends up on match of the day and it's like a 6-6 draw or something ridiculous. But I just think it'll be. I'm going to go 2-2. I think that they do have a lot of a good attacking system and a few threats as well. So it could be. Yeah, I'm going to go 2-2.
Fair enough. You've been listening to Lee Clark too much with the 2-2. Reece, score prediction?
I generally fancy the same. I generally think it'll be a score draw. If I had to put some money on it, I'd be, like I said, I'd be staggered if there isn't both teams to score, with obviously Brentford's attacking prowess and as good as our defence has been. But obviously at the other end, league goals for fun, especially if Pinnock's not playing. So yeah, a 2-2, but hopefully they've got a few injuries and a bit, tired from last night, and we can take advantage of that. Hopefully,
I said 3-3 for a laugh on the last pod that me, Christian, and Matt did. I'm going to change it. Actually, I think it will be high scoring. I think we'll win 4-2. I'm going to put that. If it's a Super 6 game, I'm going with it as well.
Is Bouchalakis playing as well?
You what? Sorry,
is Bouchalakis playing as well?
Yeah, get him in. Him, Kieran Dow, and Darryl Murphy scoring that game. I believe he did. Bouchalakis with 2 absolute corkers. So yeah, that's our score prediction. So two lots of 2-2 and a 4-2 from myself. I've changed it. I'm pretty sure Lee's going 2-0. That's what he ever says.
50-1. That is, Adam. 4-2.
I'm gonna have to put a quid on it, aren't I?
And 3-3 is 40-1.
I'll put both on. Right. Okay. Chris Wood might be getting a new contract, Reece, which is brilliant. He wants 2 years. We're apparently offering him 1. What would you like to see happen with that? Because I think we'd all like to see him stay, because I think he's definitely 100% proven his worth to us. But I know it was very public that we wanted another striker in the summer, however it came, but we didn't get one, obviously. So yeah, what would you like to see happen with that situation?
Well, I mean, I see in the report, and it seems like both sides are keen to kind of do a deal, so it's not like one side's dragging the feet. So I'd imagine it would get sorted, whether it'll be, a 1-year contract with an option, which, is triggered by a certain amount of appearances or goals, maybe, or it might just be a flat 2-year, or even a flat 2-year with an option. I know he's on, I think it's towards 100 grand a week, maybe 100 grand a week, isn't it? But you put that into context over a season, it's 5.2 million a season. And what's he got? What's he got for us now? Is it 9 or 10 goals this season?
10 so
10.
far.
If he scored you even the next 2 seasons 10 goals a season, it's worth 5 million, isn't it? So, yeah, I think that's pretty an easy deal to do, mate, to be honest. And really go, obviously, in that time, you need to be looking at someone who's going to take the mantle from him when he becomes, into his mid-30s or later 30s. So I'm not sure if we'll probably might revisit that in the summer or in January if something comes about. I mean, Tyro's struggled really to get minutes at all. Into it wouldn't, like I think I've said on the pod before, it wouldn't surprise me if he moved on to pastures new in the summer. And I think we might persevere with these two until the summer, and then Wood will probably get a new deal. I think Tyro might be moved on, and then we'll probably bring in somebody else depending on where we finish. Obviously, because if we're getting Europe or we can maybe attract someone better than we could have attracted before. So yeah, we'll see. But I think that is a natural plan of progression into it, and basically someone probably next season who's going to vie for that spot with him, and then in a couple of seasons' time take over for good.
Yeah, definitely. Christian, anything more to add on the Wood deal?
I'd personally give him 2 years an option of a third. I know it sounds ludicrous given his age, but I think the way he's performing, I don't, if you have to look now like Lewandowski and Vardy, for example. I know obviously these are like maybe people on the higher end of the scale for strikers, but they're still like late 30s now and they're still scoring goals. You get the ball to them. I think the way Nuno plays, obviously you're banking on Nuno being here for that duration if you are, but the way Nuno plays, like we saw it for Raul Jimenez at Wolves, for example, he likes sort of not less mobile strike, if you like, but one that you work the ball into him and he's there on the spot to score. And Woods, that's not going to change for Woods. Like it doesn't matter if his pace isn't really that important to his game or Forest's game for that matter. We aren't like pinging a ball over the top and expecting him to run like 50 meters in like 2 seconds or anything like that to get onto the ball and score. We're expecting to get the ball to him and him do the rest. So I think I'd actually I'll give him 2 years as an option of a third. I think that would be best of all parties. I think, it's, again, if you look at his wages, so what's 100 grand a week for 2 years is 10 million. Are we going to find the striker better than Chris Wood for 10 million pounds? Probably not. So I've got no issue with it. I can't really believe we're having this conversation after the way he started and how he was played initially. But I genuinely hope that he can get to 100 Premier League goals in wearing a Forest shirt. And he's only 21 off now, I think. So give him a 2-year deal, 10 goals a year, and including what else he might get this season, it's generally possible. So
he's always hit like the double figures. Even like when he was at Burnley, he always hit double figures. So I think he's actually a really good striker to someone to learn off, especially someone that is maybe more mobile and does looking to run behind. But then like his movement in the box, actually, when you look at it so much more closely, he's really, really intelligent with it. And I actually thought he was, to say he didn't really get much service on Saturday, I thought his work rate was brilliant. Like the way he was closing off passing lanes and closing down and defending from the front, I think is something that you put up to your academy striker like Joe Gardner or Sapper Song, Dale Taylor, and you go, look what he's doing, and this is what you can do. And you're more, and they're 3 lads who look more athletic than Wood in terms of like how they play. So I think he's a good tutor to learn off in that sense, and he's been around and done it, and seems like a really good guy. I watched an interview of him and Gibbs White through Optus Sport yesterday or today, I can't remember now, and them two seem to have a really good like relationship, and he actually seems to be quite a funny guy considering he's got the most boring name and the most boring face ever. So yeah, it's all good. But moving on, and yeah, sorry, I agree with whatever happens with the club. I just hope we get it sorted, and I still would like to see another striker, and I agree with you, Reece, about Awunya. I think his time is done. But moving on, we're going to talk about news regarding the stadium. So someone posted online about someone who'd got a stadium tour, and there was a few bits mentioned within the video that kind of points to a lot of things that might be happening around the city ground. So a section 106 is nearly there, waiting for a meeting to sign. 3,000 seats retained in the Peter Taylor stand and everything behind will be demolished. The person in the video states that this will take place next season. Unclear whether that means demolition will take place in place in the summer of 2025. Confirmed contractor is looking at an Anfield style approach to completing the work. So I assume that's like it's happening whilst games are still going on, and fans can still sit within the ground. I assume that's what it is, Reece.
Yeah, one stand at a time as well. They've done at Liverpool.
No confirmation where players and medics, etc., will be housed. A planning application is being prepared for the Bridgeford stand as we speak, and the intention is to remove the roof completely and bring the seats up to the same height as Brian Clough, which would be amazing. They may try and get corporate in the middle of the stand, subject to discussions with Rushcliffe. Goal is by 2028 to have a capacity of 42,000. Confirms any changes to the Brian Clough are for future and not being considered currently. Unclear whether bulldozers will move in on the last day of the season to begin clearing work, or whether it may take a tad longer to prepare the zone behind Peter Taylor. The houses on Colic Road required by the club have been bought all bar 2. So a lot of information there, but it sounds really, really positive. And 42,000, I think, would be quite a nice round number. Reece, starting with yourself, thoughts on all that info that I've just read out?
Yeah, a lot of it. I think 42,000 would be about right. Personally, I know some people was advocating for 50,000. I personally think that would be a bit too much. I mean, I see one quote like, "Oh, we could give like the away team like 10,000." I think it was like, no thanks. Yeah, I'm just kind of looking through it, and that. I mean, it's needed to God. I know. Obviously, we have Matt who comes on this pod, and he's obviously, what's the word I'm looking for? Loves the main stand, doesn't he? But it's needed knocking down for years. And even when Nigel Doughty was in situ, there was talk of that stand being knocked down. I mean, for those that can remember going in the ticket office as a kid, there was always a little model in the corner of how the City Ground should look. And that main stand had gone, and the bigger stand was there. So, the club needs some modern facilities, doesn't it, in there? And it's positive. Obviously, I'm not sure how far down the line it's going to be, but it's any news what is progressing it down the line is positive, because the club needs it. And personally, I think with a raised Bridgeford stand up to the same level and a brand new spanking new main stand, I think the ground is pretty much good for where we're kind of at, really.
Yeah, definitely. Christian, thoughts as well?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it'd be great for the club. Like really, really, really great for the club. I think that in a time where so many teams are losing their identity, to be able to stay at City Ground and renovate it into a place where it generates a club more revenue, gets more fans into the ground that they might otherwise not be able to, and that obviously includes like a younger generation who, unlike us, actually might have a chance to watch a decent Forest side in their youth. And not have that many limitations. I think that can only be good news for the city, good news for the club, good news for everyone, really. So I really hope it all comes together. Obviously, the City Ground's a very important part. It's more than just a stadium. I generally believe it's a part of the club's soul, and to leave would be hugely detrimental. I also agree with the notion that, there's no point going for 55,000 capacity seat stadium, because we wouldn't fill it, in my personal opinion. It's all well and good the club coming out and saying that, or putting out to the Athletic that, we got 50,000. We could have sold 50,000 tickets for certain games in the first season up. Well, yeah, of course. First time playing Liverpool at home in 23 years, for example, the league match, and same for Man United. Of course, these games are going to be very popular. But once you've got established yourself as Premier League sides, not saying the novelty wears off, because it doesn't, of course, but I just think it'd be very difficult to sustain that level of support. And we've seen it before. We can remember the darker days in the Fawaz era when you had 16,000 turning up against Preston for a 1-1 draw and stuff like that. We can all remember those days. So the idea of building a brand new stadium, which wouldn't necessarily guarantee 100% sellout every week, seems ridiculous for what it's worth. But this does seem smart. I do think that 40,000 is about right. I think 42,000, whatever it is, I do think that is fitting with where we are as a football club. I do think that we would sell that pretty regularly, if not every week, at home. And I'd also think that no Marinakis, he'd probably be looking at other ways to sort of expand upon that if he wants to, if there was a position where the club could do so. Obviously, if we're finishing fourth every season, then you might start getting 50,000 people wanting to turn up then. But for now, this moment in time, I do believe that is right. I think that's good, and honestly, I really can't wait. I think it'd be incredible once that's done. It's mad to think that we've not had any real like stadium work done. I think since like the early 90s, really, in the Trent ends.
Yeah,
like
that was for Euro '96 with the banner behind me.
Yeah,
That was what that was built for.
It's crazy, isn't it? So, and I know obviously we've been a second tier side for a good, nearly a quarter of a century, but I think it's just nice knowing this is happening. It's moving forwards. It's still a little gem by the river. It's still a place in the river called home, sort of thing, and it's ambitious enough to help the club move forward, but without moving away from its roots. So yeah, very optimistic. Really hoping to come to fruition again, and fingers crossed. It'd be quite nice to sort of sit like a Bridgeford and look out and see like not see like a stand that he's fixing. But
it's just so nice that I think we've got away from the moving away idea, which I think the totem one was always a worst case scenario to see how the fans would react. I think if the stars aligned and there was another spot down the river where we could build them that brand new ground, and I think some more fans would probably be like, okay, but I'm so glad we're saying it. It's a special place, the City Ground is, and these kind of old school grounds are dying out, and I understand why, because everyone's trying to make more revenue, etc., and they want stadiums for more than football now. You only have to see that with Tottenham, but you do go to these grounds as a fan, and as glorious and big as they are, you just, as the former manager used to say, below on a screen, it just not got that football soul like the City Ground has it. And I'm so glad we're staying.
I remember, I don't know if you two boys did. I went to Upton Park a couple of times with Forest, got 3-2 both times, and like even for cup games like that, it was like you just felt the crowd like on top of them the whole time. Like they only had 35,000 people, but it felt like double that. I went to obviously West Ham away last year. You could hear a pin drop at time. It was like, as a chant that went round, you sold your soul for this something whole. Like, and it was very accurate. Like, fair enough. They got into Europe and they won the Conference League, for etc. But like, was it really worth it? Like,
the sad thing is, from a business perspective, it was a no-brainer because they got a free stadium pretty much.
Well, obviously it's taxpayer stadium.
I think the lease is like something ridiculous. Is it like 2 million a year or something for like obviously London for a brand new stadium? So
it's not bad.
It was probably a deal the owners thought we can't not do. But unfortunately for the fans, it's like you've kind of lost that soul. As much as Upton Park was a rough area, I must say.
I think it was made for it though, wasn't it? It made it that sort of no one fancied going to West Ham.
No, of course not.
And it was intimidating. Like it'd be the same with Everton. Like obviously that Goodison, okay, fair enough. Like obviously it's been more down and gloom than anything else in recent years. But when Goodison's rocking, and we found that out last year, we obviously like that April game, like it was loud, like it was proper football, proper stadium, and like they'll really miss that, I think, when they go to new home Everton, because they won't be like, look when they beat Liverpool last season 2-0 at Goodison, like that, the noise coming from the TV, let alone being there. I don't know. I just think that these old school stadiums, like they have a certain appeal and intimidation factor to them, and it'd be such a shame to lose that just for a few extra numbers on a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I think it's about trying to get it right. I mean, I went to Tottenham last year. Me and you went to Tottenham, Christian. I know, Reece, you've been to the new ground. And I actually think it is loud because of how they've built it in with the acoustics and stuff. So there's a way of doing it. I mean, I'm glad it's not 50,000 because I'm in agreement with you. I don't think we'd fill it completely. And looking at the population of Nottingham, if it was 50,000, there'd be a sixth of our population in the city
and that's
ground.
What I mean. Nottingham's not
chaos.
Yeah, well, Nottingham's not like the biggest city, and you've also got another team in Nottingham who, the Notts County average, maybe 7,000, maybe something like that. You look at cities like Leeds, which are bigger than Nottingham, they've got one team. So you have to put that into perspective as well. But
definitely,
I think Tottenham's ground's an American football stadium, mate, personally. But that's my opinion.
I must admit I wasn't overly keen. Again, like I went to White Hart Lane. and we had them in a cup. Do you remember in that 2014?
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. George
We
Grant scored. Yeah,
put out a C team, led the game
Yeah.
after an hour, and then they scored 3 goals in 20 minutes. But
Harry
and
Kane,
even
Harry Kane, like made his name through
he
that game.
scored,
yeah.
didn't he?
I think Soldado scored as well,
Oh,
and
and come on,
Ryan Mason, I think.
it literally hit him and went in. I think Andros
Yeah.
Townsend did his like classic one-trick pony trick of cutting inside and shooting. It was hitting the bloody corner flag, bounced off Soldado's shin and went in. It was so unfortunate. But again, like, you know, what it wasn't the same. Like, I mean, ironically, both games finished 3-1 to Spurs. But the noise difference from White Hart Lane to the new grounds was night and day. Like, I don't know. You just see so many of their fans and West Ham fans especially, like, bemoaning. It's not. I don't even think it's nostalgia laced either. I just think that it's just not, you know, what they see as proper football.
I guess the positive for Spurs is it's on the same site, isn't it? I think if that was a genuine prospect for Forest and we could smash the whole ground down and build it on the exact same site, I think most fans would say, yeah, I'm happy with that personally.
Probably right, yeah.
It's just location, I guess, with that was our problem. But moving swiftly on, it's January is just around the corner. I mean, I don't know how much we'll get to talk about this with time and everything, but has your guys' mindset shifted in terms of where we need to strengthen because Chris Wood's been so good and been fit, and Awoniyi's been back up and been fit? Do you see a need for a striker? Do you think there's a spot in the squad where we need to strengthen up elsewhere, Reese?
I think the concern would be if Wood got injured, wouldn't it? If he was to say, I don't know, I've got injured for touch wood, hopefully he won't. But if he has a spell on the sidelines for a couple of months, could you imagine Taro coming in with the game time is having the same effect as what Wood's had? Probably not. Obviously, January is always a notoriously hard month to do business. You know, you usually pay a premium or usually panic buy, as we saw really in the first season, the Prem, didn't we? We signed players who, you know, at the time, Chris Wood didn't work out. Shelby definitely didn't work out, for example. So, and also you don't want to upset that squad harmony too much because we're not in a bad place, are we? It's not like the last 2 January winners where we've been in a bad place. So, I wouldn't say the squad needs changing massively. You know, the goalkeeping situation is fine. I mean, if maybe someone who might move on at the back is maybe Harry Toffolo might move on. I'm not sure if they maybe look at a fullback there. Obviously, we don't really know half. I mean, looking at the photos yesterday, I still think Sangare is quite a way off. You know, he's probably someone who I could possibly see moving on in the summer as well. So I'm not sure if Ward-Prowse goes back. I think we probably need a CDM/centre mid. Obviously, something I mentioned in the summer is a left-footed right winger, but we have got 4 wingers at the club at the minute. So, and then obviously the striking situation. So I wouldn't imagine us going too gung-ho, but I'm sure in the back of Marinakis' mind as well, if we are in this position come what, you know, January, obviously we're only 3 games out from that, he might roll the dice a little bit. You know, I'm not sure. There's been a few links, haven't they? You know, I've seen Jimenez as being linked with the likes of a few other bigger clubs. I think Bayer Leverkusen, I think it was AC Milan and Liverpool being linked with him today. So really? all the strikers who were linked with, apart from Nketiah, have had really good seasons. This has been brilliant. I mean, Marmoush is probably one of the best players in Europe on form, isn't he? So
he's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
Sirianos was onto something.
It'll be interesting to see what we do, but I wouldn't imagine us going too gung-ho, and I don't think we need loads, which is probably, you know, the odd tweak here and there, which will set us up nicely for the rest of the season, and hopefully we can have a real good go at trying to get in the top 8. Dare I say?
Christian, any position that you would like to see strengthened, or is it more same what Reece just said?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, obviously, I think I wouldn't be surprised to be signed a striker from Brazil. Obviously, there's been quite a lot of noise about that Yuri Alberto guy, isn't there? I wouldn't be surprised if that happens because he offers something a bit different. There's been that right winger for that Spanish team, I think. I think they're having a fast day at the minute. So, again, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, even though, like Reece said, we do have 2 right wingers at the minute, Elanga and Jota Silva. Yeah, I honestly think the biggest question mark is does Ward-Prowse see the season out? Does he go back, really? Because if he does go back, we might need someone else. But then obviously you got Danilo coming back and Sangare coming back as well. So I don't know if we need 6 central midfielders really with what we've got. So it would be interesting to see how that one plays out. But yeah, I think just to have a different option for a striker, a different profile would be really good. Similar concerns to Reece about Taiwo. I just think that I would still back him and trust him if he was given a run of say 6 games to score goals, just because he's proven he can do that several times with Forest. But it's just getting him up to that match speed first. So it would be quite nice to have 2 different options if in the case that Woods gets injured or goes on a run of form without scoring, etc., etc. Both of which are very possible. So yeah, I still think that is probably the main priority. But it's just quite nice knowing that you might need like maybe 2, potentially 3 players, if that, rather than anything else. And then obviously you look in the summer for your long-term planning. Obviously a left back, I imagine, behind the agenda for the summer, and potentially a few other positions as well. But at this immediate moment in time, I just think, yeah, 1, maybe 2, and ideally different profile striker.
I mean, I could see as more sticking with what we've got rather than getting anyone in if it comes to no one being available, or exploiting the loan market if, say, Ward-Prowse did go back, or we go for a foreigner. I mean, I think we've been linked with Besiktas's young striker Kiliscoy. I don't really know too much about him, other than that he becomes a bit of a beast on FIFA or FM, but that's like fantasy land in a lot of cases. So yeah, it's all very loose links there and whatnot. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see someone like Amabama Dile go out on loan, Zach Abbott potentially, although it might seem like he sticks around the club because of the under-23s being such a good system at the moment. I think that B team's doing pretty well this season. So, but I've seen like Joe Gardner linked with Notts County and Wrexham and a few others. And I think Jamie McDonald's doing really well at Colchester. So I can see more players going out on loan rather than as selling someone rather than as actually getting someone in, weirdly enough. So, but I would like to ask you both at least one question, which I think is a bit sticky. It's just a bit of fun. If you could realistically take a player from someone else in the Premier League at the moment, who would you like a cheeky bid for? Reece, I'm going to start with yourself.
Realistically,
like a cheeky little bid, a cheeky one.
Oh, the guy on the right, Brentford on Saturday won't be bad, would he? In
Mbeumo. It'd be a great signing for anyone in this league.
Yeah, I think if you obviously, I'm just thinking of teams at the bottom. Mateus Cunha would be nice, wouldn't he? I think someone might be good to look at for the future. Obviously, we're looking at strikers. Maybe it's Liam Delap, who would probably give you a bit of a different type of strike. I'm just thinking of teams at the bottom. Obviously, Tyler Diblin. He's had a really good season as poor as Southampton have been. I don't want anyone from Leicester. I'm just trying to think, who else is at the bottom.
Everton, yeah. James Garner, bring him back. Bring him home.
As much as I love Garner, I think that is kind of ship sailed, haven't we now? Yes. I'd have Pickford, but I do it as much as I like Souls. But I don't think there's going to be probably any business between Premier League teams. I have seen that, Brighton are possibly willing to loan Evan Ferguson out for the season, which might be, he says Fulham are really interested in that. That might be, a short-term deal we could maybe explore until the summer. But I don't know, mate. Any of them names I've mentioned would be nice, but as they're just going to get told to do one, aren't we?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Christian, any little cheeky bids?
Ferguson and Cunha bid it too, I think, because obviously that's the main priority position, isn't it? But
yeah,
I think Cunha already seems to be sort of flirting with United, doesn't he? Sort of, if you believe in like that. So
I think he could play for any team in this league, personally.
Easily,
I think he's that good.
Yeah, I think he'll have his sights set higher than Forest, and that's completely fair enough the way he's played this season. But Ferguson, I think, is quite an intriguing prospect because I don't know what's going on there with that AI generated manager in Hertzler and him, but
AI generated.
he is the first AI generated manager in history, Kevin Hertzler. Yeah, but even then, I mean, I've seen some of their fans getting on his back recently. Was it the guy who came in our pod from Admin Obsessed? He was saying that he's lost faith in him.
Really?
And, they failed to beat the bottom 5 at home, and they were just drawn them all, and obviously lost to Palace. So they're getting a bit, what's the word, tetchy. But so obviously if he
just come in, he's only just hit puberty, that manager. Like in that
probably
respect,
the issue. So obviously if that does happen, you never know. A new manager might fancy Ferguson, so now might be as good as time as any to sort of test those waters, I think. So yeah, I think realistically, I'd say Evan Ferguson. I think that's the one that the market leads to most as well.
I think if we sent Ward-Prowse on loan, I could see it being a possibility. It's just his injury record is also just as bad as Taiwo's, it seems, for such a young player with a lot of promise. I mean, I'd love to give Cunha would be the one. I think if Hwang Hee-chan had been fit all season, he'd be another at Wolves. I've always really liked him as well. And João Gomez in central midfield. I'm literally just eyeing them all up when they get relegated inevitably, because although they have got rid of your PE teacher, Gary O'Neill, he's finally been found out, Christian. He's a PE
Surprise.
teacher.
I told you it was coming.
Well, we all ate humble pie last season when Wolves did pretty well, and now it's just God knows what's happened there. They're all fighting with their own staff on Saturday after they lost against Liam Delap is a really good shout as well, Reece. I generally think another team will take him up next season. I mean, if we're in the mix for Europe, then there's a chance that we could get him if Nuno fancied him. But just to round off the pod, guys, I know we've done over an hour, but I think this is quite a good little topic just to round us off. It's been nearly a whole year, or has been a year of Nuno ball, and I think when we appointed him, or he was in the hat for the job, we all had our reservations. We all kind of looked at the Spurs deal and was very unsure of how well he would do with Forest. And I think we've all been proven happily wrong, as we sit fourth in the league on 28 points after 16 games, which is still like a bit mental to say. I just think it's been such a good turnaround since pre-season, and the recruitment and everything else has just gone swimmingly, it seems. Reece, what have you made of the year of being on the piss with Nuno?
Yeah, obviously I've seen it was a year since Steve Cooper had left today, and I know exactly where I was in that moment, because I was on my way to bloody to Cornwall to I think it was St Austell's. Is it the A50? Oh, the A road down Cornwall. I can't remember what it's called. I was on that road and obviously hearing he'd been sacked, and yeah, it was sad at the time. What Steve did for this club and for every generation's a fan, but especially for fans like our age and younger, will never ever be forgotten. And a lot of the work that he's done and the foundation is put in, along with obviously Dave Murphy and other people, is why Nuno's become, has been able to take it on. I think last season we didn't get the real Nuno, really. I think there was just, he obviously come in halfway through the season with his objective to keep us in the league. You're coming in as a firefighter, aren't you? But then he had all the, the stuff to deal with in terms of, the PSR, the points deductions, all kinds of stuff. Obviously, the famous tweet, the decisions against us. And I think it probably got him down and probably worn him down. I know there was an article in the summer the club was thinking of getting rid of him at one point. There was, obviously, he was kind of demotivated by it all, and you'd have probably thought then, separation of the ways might have been on the cards, but he's kind of gone away. He's rejuvenated himself, and obviously rejuvenated the club, and you've seen it, especially with the stuff over the Christmas period, how much more happy he looks, how much more we're seeing the real him out of his shell in his post-match interviews. I know, obviously, that's mainly down to because we're doing really well, but he's or any people who had any doubts, and I think naturally, most fans would have had, some doubts in their mind, because he is perceived to be, a bit of a defensive manager. Obviously, it was a bit of a disaster in the end at Spurs, but then again, who isn't? I think that club, I mean, we discussed this privately, he's got more than the manager, isn't it? And you have to say what a job he's done. I mean, I've seen so many people on Twitter saying, Joe Cole was giving Maresca manager of the season so far. And I'm not saying this because I'm a Forest fan. It is without a shadow of a doubt, Nuno. There's no argument. Absolutely no argument. Or this is a side who was 17th last season and just stayed up. And loads of pundits had us to go down this season, and we're 4th in the Premier League. And as good as Maresca, and I'll give Maresca his due, is, I know Chelsea spent a lot of money, and everyone was saying, no, they're a car crash, they're this. He's got them together, but they've spent £1 billion. Nuno's got us together, yeah. And they've got, arguably one of the best players, if not the best player in the league, in Cole Palmer. Nuno's transformed us from 17th to got us dreaming with Europe. There's just no argument so far. I know we're only not even halfway yet, but you can't grumble at the job he's done. I think he's got his head on, and everybody's reaping the benefits of it. And a good pre-season, that helps so much. And as we've seen, it's helped us and himself so much.
Definitely. Christian?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with what Reece said, really. It's he's done such a good job, Nuno. I think that, if you look at, again, all the circumstances, all of the cards he was dealt with last season, the fact he still made a winning hand out of it is testament in its own right. And you can say that's down to, the plucky lot who won't go away being completely abject. You can say that's down to a number of other factors, but the fact is he still did it. Like, we had a points deduction, and he still got enough out of that team to keep us afloat. So, yeah, deal with a lot last season. It was even don't forget the references we had last year as well. The whole fiasco of Clattenburg that we had to deal with, which I'm sure there'll be like some sort of WikiLeaks expose one day that actually reveals that the referees were conspiring against us, because some of those decisions were farcical beyond words.
Well, the fact the first game was Bolly's ghost sending off.
Sent off for winning the ball, yeah. But, don't forget the Everton game as well. We had a Jacob Moda 2-footing someone and getting a yellow card for it. There was like Williams having his ankle kicked into the Trent end and not being given as a penalty. There were so many that you looked at and just thought, this is ridiculous. But he dealt with all that, and he kept calm, he kept humble. He didn't. He never ever made it about him. It was always about the team. It was always like, we've got to get out of this. We'll get out of this, sort of thing. He was. Some of the things he said at the time, I think I remember I took issue with him. I think it was after the Wolves game. Maybe after the Wolves game, where he said that defending from set pieces is easy. And I was like, well, why haven't you stopped it then? We're still conceding them every week. But this season he has, with pre-season, to be fair to him. I think we've seen maybe 2-3 from set pieces this season. So maybe he was right after all. He's just very quietly gone about his job. There's been no sort of bells and whistles. He's just got his head down, worked hard. And, I think he's earned so much respect from so many people from all corners of the city. It's really good to see. And I'll make it continue, because I do think that he has got a track record of getting unfancied sides into Europe. He did it with Rio Ave. He did it with Wolves. There's no reason why we can't be a third team on that sort of like CV for him, if you like. So, and also, unlike at Wolves, Marinakis will back him. Like I said before, if Marinakis has to, he will take bloody PSR to Cass and defend why he suddenly spent £300 million building a super team and try and win the league or something. Like, he will do that. So, I genuinely think it's just such a good hand in glove fit. I didn't see it at the time. I think most fans didn't, for a number of different reasons. Obviously, a lot of us are indebted to Cooper for what he did, and rightfully so, really. I mean, he was the best manager for a generation. But it's looking like, whether they've been advised by other people or otherwise, Marinakis' last 2 picks of managers have been pretty good. So, yeah, I just hope it continues. I want to keep living in this bubble of Forest being good. It's great. But Nuno obviously he's put that in motion. So, yeah, all power to him.
I always have to give Marinakis some credit as well, because as reported, he was going to sack Cooper at some point, didn't held on for a little bit longer. We ended up surviving that season, pulled the trigger at the right time in my eyes. We all agreed with that. looked like he was going to sack Nuno at some point, as reported, as Reece said, kept with him, and now look at us. I mean, the recruitment as well has been second to none. I know loads of people who don't really know too much about it without speaking to an actual Forest fan or reading up too much into it, has been bang on this season as well. And I mean, if we don't get anyone, it's still good in my eyes, because you've not gone out and just got someone for the sake of it, potentially. So I just think everything seems so much calmer, even though Marinakis is probably taking all the headlines with the whole spitting and whatever else he's doing, the absolute lunatic. But he's great. I love him still. I love his passion. I just think he's done really well, and Nuno's thrived on that. And we've seen, of late, like you said, Reece, his personality is coming out. I mean, he got asked about how does he keep so calm on the sideline, and he's laughing, saying, "I'm nervous as hell," and that sort of thing's coming out. And the stuff that Forrest just put out about going to the hospital to give kids Christmas presents and stuff, he's really warm to that. The Warriors United team with the kids with Down syndrome, I think it's just been brilliant. We've seen a lot of two different sides to Nuno, and we've seen the winning mentality beast who's broken records this season of beating Man United in his first 2 league games in 114 years, winning at Anfield for the first time in 55 years or whatever it was, winning at Old Trafford for the first time in 30 years, and we're winning games away. We were actually quite good to go and watch away now. Like, fans aren't fearing for the long trips up and down the country, about 9 of them being to London. So it's really, really positive. It's amazing to be. I just hope it continues. And I think we're all on this pod, and people who listen to this pod won't be getting too high and won't be getting too low if there is a little bit of a drop off. But I think there's so many green flags that we're going off that I don't see why that we can't finish in a really good position next season. And if we drop off, we drop off. That it's still been a really good season. As Reece said about 4 weeks ago, we're not even looking at relegation. It's been great. I'm more concerned if we're going to drop out of the running of European places now, and that's. I mean, if you said that 3 seasons ago, you'd laugh at someone, wouldn't you? So, yeah, it's just what a progression, and yeah, great year, fantastic, and hopefully this year we're talking next year about how I don't know, where we're travelling for the quarterfinals of the Conference League or next round or whatever, or Europa League, whatever competition it is. So, yeah, no, it's been great. Any last words from you, Reece?
It's up to you if you want to do the birthday spread or not, mate.
I mean, we're an hour and 11 in. Maybe we should reserve a Christmas birthday spread for maybe after Boxing Day.
Yeah.
Unless you really want to do it. Christian, thoughts?
Entirely up to you guys.
We're gonna let people get back to their days within an hour and 12 minutes now. So yeah.
We'll leave it for we'll see how the pods go, obviously, over the next few, and if one's a little bit shorter, which they're usually not, we'll pop it in at some point. But I did it on Emma last night, and she got 26, so that's the benchmark. And there was some interesting names.
That's some pressure.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely. Well, guys, thank you very much for joining us on this preview. I mean, extended preview of Red Side of the Trent for the Brentford game. Hopefully, we're talking about another positive result come Sunday morning, and we're still retaining our European spot, regardless whether that's Europa League or Champions League. I mean, it does not matter at this moment. I'm not fussy. But until next time,